Ready? Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order with a short prayer and a salute to our flag. Tonight, former Commander Ken Kelly will do the salute to the flag. Almighty God, grant us the wisdom to make those decisions that are in the best interest of all our residents. May the Heavenly Father of us all bless those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation, and may He watch over and protect our servicemen and women now guarding the gates of freedom. Commander Kelly.
Hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Terry, statement of publication.
Take notice that this regular meeting of the mayor and council being held on this 22nd day of April 2019 has been advertised and posted in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan.
Here.
Delina. Enriquez.
Here.
Kilpatrick.
Here.
McGill. Novak.
Here.
Council President, approval of prior minutes.
There aren't any, Mayor.
Okay, with that, we will go to the following. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veteran of Foreign Wars of the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922. And whereas VFW Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Wars is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living. Now therefore, I, Kennedy O'Brien, Mayor of the Borough of Saraville, do hereby urge the citizens of this community to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to its support through the purchase of Buddy Poppies on the day set aside for the distribution of these symbols of appreciation for the sacrifices of our honored dead. I urge all patriotic citizens to wear a Buddy Poppy as mute evidence of our gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked their lives in defense of the freedoms which we continue to enjoy as American citizens. In witness whereof, I have caused this proclamation to be issued, and the official seal of the borough duly affixed this 22nd day of April 2019, and the same duly attested by the municipal clerk, Kennedy O'Brien, Mayor.
Would the proclamation be approved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Veterans, if you would, please. Did you get this guy?
Yeah, I got that.
Yes. You did. Did anybody want to speak? Okay.
Mayor, if I may, on behalf of the veterans of our community, I would like to thank the mayor and council for their many decades of support of the local veterans, the VFW and the American Legion. We are much appreciated, the continued support, and we thank you for allowing us to come here tonight. Okay, so with that, Enjoy your deliberations and have a good evening. Thank you.
Sayreville veterans, veterans of the United States of America, we thank you. Next item, Terry?
Do we have closed session this meeting? Dan? Okay. Under old business, we have a resolution to be read in full. Our CFO will be reading a resolution number 2019-118 for the self-examination of the budget.
Whereas NJSA 4A:4-78B has authorized the local finance board to adopt rules that permit municipalities in sound fiscal condition to assume the responsibility.
Diane, is your mic on?
My mic's on. You want me to bring it closer? Better? Okay. To assume the responsibility normally granted to the Director of the Division of Local Government Services of conducting the annual budget examination, and whereas NJAC 5:30-7 was adopted by the local finance board on February 11, 1997, and whereas pursuant to NJAC 5:30-7.2 through 7.5, the Borough of Sayreville has been declared eligible to participate in the program by the Division of Local Government Services, and the Chief Financial Officer has determined that the local government meets the necessary conditions to participate in the program for the 2019 budget year. Now therefore, be it resolved by the governing body of the Borough of Sayreville that in accordance with NJAC 5:30-7.6A and 7.6B, and based upon the Chief Financial Officer's certification, the governing body has found the budget has met the following requirements. 1, that with reference to the following items, the amounts have been calculated pursuant to law and appropriated as such in the budget. A, payment of interest and debt redemption charges. B, deferred charges and statutory expenditures. C, cash deficit of preceding year. D, reserve for uncollected taxes. E, other reserves and non-disbursement items. F, any inclusions of amounts required for school purposes. Number 2, that the provisions relating to limitation on increases of appropriations pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-45.2 and appropriations for exceptions to limits on appropriations found at NJSA 40A:4-45.3 are fully met and complies with the cap law. 3, that the budget is in such form, arrangement, and content as required by the local budget law and NJAC 5:30-4 and 5:30-5. 4, that pursuant to the local budget law, all estimates of revenue are reasonable, accurate, and correctly stated. Items of appropriation are properly set forth. In itemization, form, arrangement, and content, the budget will permit the exercise of the comptroller function within the municipality. The budget and associated amendments have been introduced and publicly advertised in accordance with the relevant provisions of the local budget law, except that failure to meet the deadlines of NJSA 40A:4-5 shall not prevent such certification. That all other applicable statutory requirements have been fulfilled. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution will be forwarded to the Director of the Division of Local Government Services upon adoption.
Terry?
Need to open this meeting up to the public on resolution number 2019-118.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public portion for a public hearing on the Borough of Sayreville's 2019 budget. All questions should be about the budget. Does everyone have a copy? Everybody who wants a copy have a copy?
This is just for the self-examination of the budget
I got it,
resolution, Mayor.
I got it. Just the,
Just that, and then we'll do the public hearing on the budget.
oh, this is going to be a long one. Okay,
No, it's short.
okay. We're having a public on the announcement.
Right now, we have the public hearing on the resolution that was just read in full.
Are there any questions on the resolution that was just read? There being no questions on that resolution,
Mayor, I move the public portion be closed and the resolution approved.
roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan,
Yes?
Enriquez,
Yes.
Kilpatrick,
Yes.
McGill, Novak.
Yes.
Mayor, at this time, I'd like to announce that we take notice that the 2019 budget approval and public hearing notice has been advertised in the Home News Tribune on March 29, 2019, which gave notice of the date and time of this public hearing, and that I have before you tonight the 2019 Municipal Budget Resolution Number 2019-119.
At this time, we're going to open the public portion on the 2019 budget for any interested resident. The questions need to be solely about the municipal budget. Does everyone who needs a copy of the budget have a copy? With that, I'll open the public portion for questions or comments. Are there any questions or comments? Arthur?
Arthur Rittenhouse, 33 Delacat Lane in Sayreville. I just have one question. Under the general appropriations, legal services, you're anticipating spending $495,000, yet this year there was $820,000 spent. And there's going to be more legal on the COA coming up. I just wondered why you didn't appropriate more in that if we're going to have more legal fees, rather.
I'm not so sure we're going to have that much more legal, being that I don't believe COA is in litigation any longer, being that the judge has rendered his decision. I do believe there will be legal, but I don't believe it's going to be to the extent of what it was in the prior year.
And if I may, COA is now just simply the next step for COA, once these administrative resolutions are approved this evening, is just really the compliance hearing, which should go smoothly since most of the work has already been completed.
But there's going to be more
There's no more-
hearings by the COA attorney, correct?
There should only be one, and that's just the compliance, because all the resolutions that
Would you like to guarantee that, Mike?
Well, as long as you guarantee me that I get into heaven with all my sins,
You're a good talker, you'll probably make it.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments on the budget? Being no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion. Is there a second? Roll call?
Councilpersons Novak.
Yes.
Buchanan.
Yes.
Enriquez.
Yes.
Kilpatrick.
Yes.
McGill.
Yes.
Okay, any new business, Terry?
I have nothing under new business, Mayor. Do you have any appointments this evening?
I do. Under appointments, I have 3 applications. The first one is for Donna Zaleski for reappointment to the Rec Board. Is there a motion?
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, second one is for Christina Fleming. She is with the Venetian Care and Rehab. She's replacing Diane Cox on Commission on Aging. I believe it's is this a non-voting?
Yes, she's a non-voter.
Right.
I do believe so.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then I'd like to appoint Gary Ladazzini to the Environmental Commission. So, I don't think, that's a mayor's appointment.
It's a mayoral appointment.
Okay. And then I did want everyone to be aware, the Sayreville Exempt Association of the Sayreville Fire Department is having a service on Monday, May 27th. They will have it at the Fireman's Monument at the corner of MacArthur and Main Street. And it's to honor the members that died in this past year. Also, the Sayreville policemen, but actually, did anyone from the fire department want to talk about that? The service you're having on Memorial Day? You good? All right, Dan, you want to talk about your service? And it's Dan Elmeyer.
Daniel Elmeyer, President, Sayreville PBA, Local 98.
Mayor and Council, on Wednesday, May 15th, 2019, Saraville PBA Local Number 98 will be holding our annual memorial service at the PBA Memorial Garden, located at our headquarters, 1000 Main Street, Saraville, New Jersey. And this will be at 5:30 p.m. For anybody that would like to attend, we do ask for RSVP to Tracy Weber over at headquarters. This is a service and a memorial that we've been doing for quite a number of years. It's to honor all of our officers that have gone before us, and then also to honor all the officers that put their lives on the line, that have given their lives throughout the course of the country. And it's just a very solemn, very
Moving.
very moving it is. For anybody that has had the opportunity in the past to attend this, if you haven't, I encourage everybody to please come out. It's a wonderful sentiment and a great honor to those who serve our communities.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan.
Thank you.
Give you Dan that back. Okay, new business, Terry?
Yes, Mayor, under new business, we have the introduction of the following ordinance. Ordinance number 452-19, an ordinance adopting the Fulton's Landing redevelopment plan pursuant to NJSA 48:12A-7.
Who is second on land use?
I think I am.
Councilwoman Novak is.
Councilwoman?
I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law for a public hearing to be held on
Isn't this going to be pulled up to the second meeting in May? May 28th, that'll be.
prevailing time.
Second?
All in favor?
Need a roll call on that, Mayor?
Roll call?
Councilpersons Novak?
Yes,
Buchanan? Enriquez?
Yes.
Gilpatrick?
Yes.
McGill?
Yes.
This time, I'm going to open questions or comments on consent agenda items. Are there any questions or comments? Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Robinson, 11 Burrell Square. I have a question, one question on the consent agenda item, but I have another question on ordinance 45219. I know the public hearing isn't today, but that's the redevelopment.
That's a different agenda, Jim. This is just for the consent agenda.
This is only on the consent? Okay.
Yes.
Only on the resolution, Jim.
Consent 2019-123, amendments to the waterfront development plan.
Yes, which question?
That was on the agenda for the last meeting, but the things that were referenced are not attached to that. So Terry was kind enough to send me the attachment. I have a question specifically how these amendments will impact the Main Street bypass.
That's, if I might, Jim, that's something that I know the planning board's going to raise, and so my suggestion to you, I know they have, I just saw the notice about 2 hours ago. I think it's on for May 8th. So my suggestion is to go there, and you can certainly ask those questions on May 8th.
I appreciate that, but respectfully, you're sending it over to them. It was on the agenda last week, 2 weeks ago. It's on the agenda tonight. You're voting to send it over to them. Somebody must know something about it.
If I may, Mr. Dupont, I do have some information from Sarah that was discussed in reference to that. The Main Street bypass is not in any way, shape, or form going away in the eyes of the Riverton project. One of the concerns that the developer has was that currently the Main Street bypass has not moved forward with any of its build-out. Now, within that plan, what they would be constructed would be a portion of the bypass by Riverton that would in essence become like a dead end. And the concern from the developer's perspective was in the event that that was constructed and it would take however many years for us to get the approval, I think it's being held up right now by the Army Corps of Engineers, what kind of an issue that might be if, with vagrants, with individuals that might be back there causing some problems. They are not eliminating that, they're just asking that they will build that piece once the other roadways are there, so they would still be responsible for building it, still be responsible for connecting it. It's just at which time they would put it in there. To put a road there now that would go in essence nowhere was a concern for the developer.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's a step in the right direction. I'm glad that amendment was made. Do you know, does anybody know if any consideration was made into having the developers of Riverton fund other portions of the Main Street bypass, because they will certainly benefit by it, or only their piece. I mean, they're what are called off-track and off-site improvements, and this might be an off-site improvement if we were to ask for that.
As a Sarah Commissioner, that component has not been brought up, that went with me there. If it's something that you would like mentioned at our next meeting, which is coming up on Thursday, I'll carry that question forward.
I
and
think
see.
certainly, the test under the law is whether or not there is a rational nexus. And I think certainly there's a rational nexus between the rest of the Main Street bypass and this development. So.
I'll make a note for myself. Jay, will
And
you
it's all
second that note for me?
proportional, right, Jay? It's all proportional. Under the law, they wouldn't be asked to pay for anything that was more than their fair share, correct?
Well, I think this is a little different because of going back to the original redevelopment requirements with Sarah. They're required to build a roadway along their property frontage. So that's a requirement. That actually takes it behind the MCOA property. Beyond that, there was contributions that they were making toward transportation improvements. So there were other improvements, not necessarily for the bypass, but I think the parkway improvements and other improvements are part of their traffic requirements as part of that original redevelopers agreement.
Well, I certainly understand the contribution to the parkway improvement because that was a multi-million-dollar phase there. But this road too, the bypass too, will certainly benefit their development and will be impacted by their development. So I think some consideration should be given to their fair share contribution to the bypass. But I certainly appreciate what you said, Councilwoman. That's an improvement, so that's a good thing. Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the consent agenda? Being no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move the public portion be closed and the consent agenda resolutions be approved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Buchanan,
Yes?
Enriquez,
Yes.
Kilpatrick,
Yes.
McGill,
Yes.
Novak.
Yes.
Okay. Engineers report?
No report.
Attorneys report?
No report, Mayor.
Is there anything for closed?
No, sir.
All right. Public portion, questions or comments on any and all issues? Arthur?
Council gets to know it's two.
Arthur Rittenhouse, I'm appearing now as the Vice Chair of the Saraville Shade Tree Commission. We received a letter to the mayor, but it's really mayor and council. Dear Mayor O'Brien, congratulations. The Borough of Saraville was just certified for its 10th year as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation and the New Jersey Urban and Community Forestry Program. This is a milestone accomplishment in the Tree City USA program. Thank you for all your hard work and your commitment to managing your trees and forests. You should be very proud of the success you have achieved. So for the mayor and council, and this is the 10-year award, Terry, I'll give this to you.
Terry, if you would. Arthur, on behalf of the governing body and the people of Saraville, we would like to thank and acknowledge the very hard work of the Shade Tree Commission for at least the 23 years that I've sat up here, and I know it went back. I think Mayor McCormick actually started the Shade Tree. I could be wrong, but he was a very good mayor, and he's a very good friend, so let me give him the acknowledgement and the credit.
Two other things on Shade Tree. If you need some trees for your yard or for your property, this Saturday is Arbor Day, and at Kennedy Park, starting at 9 o'clock, we have 500 trees, seedlings, to give out. All are welcome, and there's a limit of 5 per family if we get a lot of people. If we don't get a lot of people, we could stretch that limit. And the other thing is, the art contest that the Shade Tree Commission is doing is May 3rd, being held at the Senior Center at 6 o'clock at night. Last year, we had a great turnout, and we hope to, again, have another good turnout with that. Okay, I'm done with Shade Tree. Now, Arthur Rittenhouse, 33 Delacat Lane. I have a couple of concerns and a couple of questions. The Fulton Landing, and Mr. Robinson brought up the Main Street bypass. They sent out that they're changing something on the bypass. A letter went out to residents of Main Street Townhouse that live along the border of where the bypass will be. It was a short letter saying they should make comments, and it was a map. The map never even showed Main Street Townhouses on the map that was given to the residents. So it looked like just a geophysical map with nothing to do with them. I had some calls from residents, they're quite concerned. I wrote a letter to the state DEP saying that that was wrong. If you're gonna do it, even though you can come here to Borough Hall and look at all of the pages, what they received was a map that didn't even show our homes there. The other concern I have is across the street from Main Street Townhouses in the Mako development. For the last probably 2 years, they've been bringing in dirt 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. I called the Freehold Soil Conservation District because Jay had indicated to me that's who was in charge of it. They never returned a memo that I sent to them a month ago. They never returned a phone call asking what they're doing, how they certify that soil that's being brought in. And we're talking about building something there. We don't even know what's in that soil that could be contaminated. And they say they don't even have to respond to the borough because I talked to Kirk Mick and he got kicked off the property. Now this is Saraville property and they don't let any of our officials go on the property. And we don't know what's going on with that and with that dirt that's coming in. Plus the bypass is going to end on Kimball Drive East, which until the rest of the bypass is done should not happen because you're going to have cars and trucks going down, cutting either through Kimball Drive West, Kimball Drive East, Baumhurst, all those streets. We moved, when I was on the Board of Ed, we moved the buses, school buses off of Main Street, put them on Kimball Drive East and West. Now, if the bypass ends there and is not completed further, you're going to have cars, trucks, and buses going down those streets. So I think there's a lot to look into with this building. Also, the building at Fulton Landing, the master plan calls for that road to go through to Washington Road also as a north-south road. So that's something to consider because all those trucks, if it's a warehouse, are going to be going not only onto Main Street, they're going to be going on to Washington Road by Berks Park High School, Middle School, and Library. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arthur. Are there any other questions or comments? Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Robinson, 11 Burrell Square. Under the any questions or comments, section ordinance number 45219. Can somebody briefly summarize the redevelopment plan for Fulton's Landing? Again, that's something that's not attached, so.
You can certainly, you know what, I'm not quite sure if anyone's going to be able to, I'm not quite sure anyone's going to be able to briefly synopsize it. I think it's like 25 or 30 pages long, but I know that if you talk to Terry or talk to Dan, it should be available to the public.
Well, you're voting to send it to the planning board now, so you ought to know basically what it entails. Is it, what's the use that is anticipated? Sorry that Councilman Galena isn't here. I'm sure he would know.
The plan, Jim, is warehousing.
Warehousing.
Correct. You can have my copy here, and you can certainly review it before the
Do I have
planning
to
board.
give it back?
No.
Okay.
No notes on it.
I'd appreciate your plan and
Okay.
and how much warehousing? Thank you very much.
Again, Jim, if I might, and Mayor, I'm sorry if you don't want me to, but, you know, it is 25 pages. There is, you know, references to the master plan from 2013, 1998. And so I know that many of your specific questions, it has questions regarding signage, stormwater management, storage, recycling. So there's a lot to this, simply than just synopsizing. It probably
I
would be
understand, but, I mean,
misjustice
one of the
to-
biggest questions, I would think if I were a member of the council and have read this and are going to send it to the planning board, the first thing I'd want to know is how much warehousing? Well, the first thing is probably what's the use, and you said it's warehousing. How much warehousing?
If you reference page 13 under the report that was just handed to you, it gives you a breakdown of the WD warehousing and distribution in their proposed redevelopment plan. Now, this plan is going to the planning board, obviously, first to look at it more specifically as far as their knowledge and their expertise in this. It's my understanding that the warehousing that they'd be looking at building would be 3 warehousing units as opposed to what was originally going to be put on that site, which was supposed to be a combination of residential as well as warehousing. This would eliminate the residential component, I believe, of over 200 houses. I believe all
207 homes. If
207.
homes were built, I think there would be 207
with 4
homes.
bedrooms, with 4 bedrooms. Okay, so this would eliminate that. So that, this particular redevelopment plan that's being put before the planning board would actually, is proposed to eliminate all of the residential, the 207 4-bedroom housing, and bring it into, and don't forget, that would also include 2 warehouses that would be originally approved under, I think, the first plans that had gone through, as you know, Jim, more than probably anybody, the litigation in reference to that. This new amended redevelopment plan would bring it down to, I believe, 3 warehouses, WD warehousing and distribution sites, 0 residential, which would mean 0 4-bedroom housing. That's portions of the plan that are put forth. The rest of it, as Mr. Dupont has stated, is more specific to some of the other things that I believe the planning board, I'd be interested to hear what their comments are on it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll take a look at this, and I appreciate that you gave it to me, Councilwoman. At one of the previous meetings, there was talk about the litigation, and at some point in time, the judge had called for a traffic study for that parcel. Do you recall that?
Yes, both sides completed CME completed a traffic study, and we have been in communication with Judge Cordemus almost on a weekly basis.
Where is that traffic study? Is that available to the members of the public?
Sure it is.
Okay. And was that traffic study taken into account when this redevelopment plan was fashioned or formulated?
I know CME did it. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. I know that when they did the traffic study, they thought of all possibilities, I think.
Our office did not do a traffic study. We did an evaluation of the traffic study that was prepared by the property owner's engineer. And we had numerous comments that were raised, and some of those are discussed in this redevelopment plan.
Okay, and at that meeting, I asked whether or not the Lakeview Drive extension was going to be a part of that, whether that was taken into consideration in the traffic study. And I think they were going to look at that both ways. But my question is, with respect to this redevelopment plan, what does the redevelopment plan say about the Lakeview Drive extension or any other similar north-south connection? Because if we're talking about, I don't know, and when we're talking about square footage of warehouses, are we talking about 100,000? Are we talking about 200,000, a million? What?
Again, Jim, this was, I know that you keep referencing to the fact that the mayor and council have read it, and they have read it, but for comment's sake, and to keep an impartial opinion here, a lot of these questions should be directed to the planning board, and again, just on the basis that
Well, no, I'm directing them to the mayor and council.
No,
because the mayor and council is sending this to the planning board.
Correct. And remember, they are
And let me just repeat, I'm directing them to the mayor and council.
Sure, I know.
Counselor. Okay? Not that I don't appreciate your
I know, and
answers.
I appreciate it, your comments, but again,
But you don't have a vote.
I don't, no.
Jim, I'm going to be honest with you. I got that on Friday. Being Easter weekend, I didn't really get to read. I read it this morning, and I did not see any reference in there. I was saying to my husband, I don't see any reference in there to Lakeview being completed or Beth Ann Way hooking up to anything. I didn't see anything in there at that, and I would be interested to see what the planning board thinks about that.
Okay.
But I
All
did
right,
not
because
see that in
I
there.
think that's important, and I think if we're going to talk about developing this, especially with warehouses, that a north-south connection needs to be in place, it needs to be paid for by the developer, whoever develops this, and we need to conform to the master plan, which I assume has not changed. Is that correct? The master plan hasn't changed to accommodate this? Okay. All right, and one last question. A couple weeks ago, I asked about the development on Bordentown Avenue that's in Old Bridge, adjacent to our well fields, and Mr. Frankel was going to call Old Bridge and see what they're doing there, and whether or not that might present an environmental hazard to our well fields.
And I did call Old Bridge, and I still haven't gotten back any answers from the business administrator, and I haven't gotten back any answers from the economic development that they have as a unit, so still haven't gotten back to me.
Okay. And so what are you going to do about that?
I'm going to wait till they get back to me. I'm going to make another call, but I'm not going to force them to talk to me. I've made calls, and when they talk to me, they'll talk to me.
And if they don't call you back?
I just told you what I was going to do.
If they don't call you back, Jim, we'll
Okay.
say.
Thank you very much.
Jim?
Jim, I'm sure that following the phone call by Mr. Frankel, if they don't call him back, I know that we all have friends in that particular town, so we'll certainly make every effort to have a
We
sense,
do have some friends there, don't
have a sense of urgency.
we? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Yes, sir, come on.
Steve Melineski, 28 Scarlet Drive in Parlin. I just want to thank Mr. DuPont, Mr. Frankel, for bringing together the folks from Susan Gruhl's group and myself to discuss the COA performer. I just want to say that it was finally, after a long run, getting together with some intelligent people, getting some intelligent answers. However, I just want the council to be aware that there's still many open issues that need to be discussed. John Barr was extremely helpful, forthcoming, and open to, discussion. So there's several things that we need to look at. One is, just so you know, on the highest level, lack of infrastructure. And two, there's been no capacity study done for the performer. I know it's not part of the scope of the agreement with Susan Gruhl's group, but it's necessary to know when we're planning all this, and we're planning for 10% in, people and 10% in school children, we need to know what our capacity is, say, for the school, the teachers. There's not one teacher added, not one police officer, nothing in that end. And I just find it hard to believe that the appropriation for taxes on homes that are said to be going to sell for $500,000-$600,000 in Riverton are going to carry all this expense to render a profit. I mean, it just seems not logical without knowing how much can we absorb in the current environment and how much do we need to put together to add to it. Also a fixed tax cost base. But I do appreciate getting together with them. I said John Barr and the group did a marvelous job for what they were challenged with, and I look forward to future meetings to really define it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Yes, sir, Mr. Zena. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Rick Zena, 32 Patton Drive. I got two things. Public service did a nice job paving our road, but you see by this picture, we have a 3-inch gap going into our driveways from where the ground is, where the tar is, and where the curb for the driveway is. So we have to go in at a...
You gotta use the hand.
Sure, we have to go in at a 45. Can't go in at a 90.
Do you have the hand mic there?
We got this. Oh, this? Oh, I'm sorry.
Dan, can I address?
This okay?
So were you contacted by anybody from Public Service and Gas? Were you contacted by anybody from our Public Works to tell you that we acknowledge that and that the people who did pave it? So let me tell you then now, you get good news. They have acknowledged it. They know the situation. They know how to resolve it. And they will probably be back there imminently to fix it for you.
I appreciate that. Just one thing, they're not gonna use coal patch? They're not gonna make a ramp out of coal patch?
They-
Because that you just
I don't-
drag into your driveway?
I don't know. They know the issue.
Yeah.
They know what they need to do, so I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're professionals. Crisdale's a professional company, and we'll get you an answer, but
I seen professional potholes filled, and 2 minutes later, it's gone because they use that, you know,
that coal patch was used in the winter, we don't have hot patch in the wintertime.
yeah.
We don't cut out, well, in the wintertime, it's really, the true word is patch, is all it is patch. When the weather's turned, like it's now getting better,
Right.
it will be done in a professional manner with hot patch. But these potholes in the wintertime, they're difficult to fill. We try to do the best we can. But now the weather's turned, I think you'll see a lot more. When I say professional, I mean, it'll be done correctly instead of just making a patch, quote,
Do
patch.
you know when they're scheduled to do this?
I don't know that. We'll try to get you an answer, but they know about it. We've had a meeting with them. We've had 2 meetings with them. They had your complaint, they know about it, and they said they will definitely take care of it.
Okay, great, appreciate that, thank you. The other thing is like, the point, whatever it's called now, thanks. When they're gonna do all that building and homes and malls and marinas and all, is there gonna be like another school added on to that? Because then we're gonna be bringing a lot of people. We've closed quite a few schools already. The high school is overcrowded. The regular elementary schools are at capacity. Has anybody addressed like building a school when they put in that whole new development? Does that make sense at all?
I think that yeah, right. That questions go to the Board of Education. We're not,
Actually, we should probably answer that question since it's part of the Sarah redevelopment plan, so it's part of that redevelopment agreement.
I think what they're
I
asking.
don't know what the agreement actually,
I think what you're asking for is things that were previously addressed through the O'Neill project in reference to their pilot, but at this point, Riverton has not come before us in reference to anything relating to pilots and monies. I mean, with the previous plan, there was a $19 million cost that would be, there was a $19 million, what would be the proper word for it? Monies that would have gone over to the Board of Education under the previous pilot agreement. As a Sarah commissioner, as a council person, that hasn't come before us at this point. So I don't know if that is something that's going to continue in the next pilot when Riverton comes before us in reference to that. It's something I'm extremely conscientious and fight for, being that I am a teacher and my kids do go to this school, and I understand what some of the strains are on those buildings and where we are with the Board of Education.
But the Board of Education is the one who's gonna decide if we need
Well, I
another
think the Board
school?
of Education, the Board of Education, I know, has already met with Riverton in order to discuss what their needs and their concerns are.
Right.
I can speak probably pretty articulately and intelligently on it, but I'm not a Board of Education member. For me to turn around and say that the Board of Education needs this, 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 and this, and not sit on the Board of Education as just a resident and an educator, I don't want to speak for them. That's what they're elected to do. They have a board in place or a committee in place called the Blue Ribbon Committee, specifically to address those types of issues. I would never jump on another governing body's ability to speak and represent what's important to them. So I think your question is well posed here, but I think it has an additional question that would have to be answered by the Board of Education. I believe you visited us at our last Sarah meeting?
Well, yeah, I was concerned about the traffic flow when that Riverton is complete, coming through South River and Saraville, of course, you gotta go right through this area. And, we already can't get out onto our streets in the morning.
I remember your
Yeah.
questions specifically. I think that one of the best places for you to continue to attend is the redevelopment agency meetings, which, again, this Thursday.
Yeah.
Because I think your questions would probably be answered more intelligently and right there at the source. and then also probably follow up with some of your additional questions for the Board of Education. I think from a council perspective that we have to advocate also for those types of things. But right now, the board that is most invested in this and has the most direct answers with the developer is Sarah. But by all means, you can keep coming here, but I think that your voice is best heard there at the redevelopment agency.
It's Thursday, you said?
Yes.
So now, just so you know, a lot of this is contract negotiations still.
Yes.
So you're probably going to find that you're going to go to that meeting and they're going to go into close and they can't discuss contract negotiations. When Riverton Group came over, all those contracts had to be renegotiated. So they're meeting and negotiating contracts. So I would suggest you do go, but don't expect a lot of answers at that time because they're still negotiating contracts.
I think you actually mentioned that, too, that there was frustration with having to leave and come back,
You
but
saw it to me, 5 minutes later, you
Yeah.
have closed session.
Yeah.
Well,
I
why
wish
have a
we could do
public
more.
meeting If you're gonna close it to the public.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, because a lot of it's contracts.
it's contract negotiation.
It's negotiating.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can leave it on. That's perfect. Yes, sir. Please come on up, Mr. Robinson. No, it's still on.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. In the 4 minutes I've been sitting down looking at this report, I see that 1.8 million square feet of warehousing is proposed, that the state considers Route 535, which is Washington Road, to be approved for trucks. So I think that that's something that has to be taken into consideration. CME's report indicates that Main Street west of the site is not appropriate for truck traffic, and Jay, your report talks about a proposed amendment to the master plan. One of the sentences says here, the CME report concludes that the concept configuration for the proposed warehouse and distribution development would need to be modified to accommodate the roadway unless the master plan is amended to remove the proposed connection. So are you suggesting that the master plan be, well, can you explain what is meant by that sentence?
Yes, part of the review that was done was a report prepared by an engineer for the property owner based upon a conceptual plan. That conceptual plan proposed 1.8 million square feet approximately of office warehouse, and it did not include an extension of Lakeview Drive. So our report indicated that that is not in accordance with the master plan requirements. You either would have to show it to comply with the master plan or else have the master plan amended to do away with it. So that's what that comment indicates.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, having seen these figures, the 1.8 million square feet of warehousing, have we at any point gotten a determination or an approximation as to how many trucks that would be on Main Street and/or Washington Road to accommodate 1.8 million square feet of warehouses?
And the answer is yes. That was part of the traffic study that was performed by their engineer.
By their engineer.
What's that?
By their engineer. By their engineer, they provided a traffic study report.
Okay, do we, I didn't see it in here, because I only
It's not in there.
I
It's
only
not
had
in
3
there.
minutes or 4 minutes to read it, but,
That's not in there.
okay. Do we note, does anybody recall that? How many trucks we're talking about?
I don't recall the specific number, but what the report intends to indicate is that there is less traffic with a warehouse development as opposed to a development that has single-family homes and warehouses.
That I understand.
Right.
Off the top of my head, I don't have what the total amount of trucks. I know that, yeah, I don't recall that.
I don't have the report with me.
So, you know, if you want to email me next week, I can answer that question. I'm going to be out the next 2 days.
Well, in what report is that figure contained? And does anybody off the top of their head know it?
I don't remember what the total number of trucks, but I do remember a discussion about staggering, them coming and going, as opposed, trying to stay away from the peak time, but I don't remember the exact number.
Okay, well, I think that would be an important consideration. So
That's why the May 8th hearing is very important for you to attend, Jim.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public? Yes, sir, come on up.
John Piskorski, Hilltop Avenue. I'd like to know when something's going to be done about the traffic on Hilltop. I've been calling the police station, can never get a hold of the chief. When I get a hold of somebody, all I do is get promises. I haven't seen a cop car on that street stopping anybody or taking care of the traffic.
Chief, I don't want to put you on the spot, but the chief's behind you. Can you come up and speak to the mic, chief?
We've had numerous traffic studies on Hilltop a number of times over the years that I've been chief. And in fact, most cases, the response has always been that the speed limit has been heeded to in most cases. And any time that it is above average, it was, or above speed limit, it was at a very low number. We also had complaints about school bus stops, and we've checked into those as well. Listen, I'll be happy to always continue to do that, and we will. And I can guarantee you'll have an officer down on Hilltop Avenue tomorrow. But I do want to know there's a lot of expense and there's a lot of time that goes into these studies, and they have been done on repetitive times throughout the years. So things have been getting done and things have been looked into. But I will have someone down again tomorrow, and I'll have them stop at your house so we can make sure that we get
You
all
can
the
even
information.
park in my driveway if you want, but I want to tell you something, but I wouldn't bring it out in public.
Okay.
Another thing, when's that street going to be paved? Can you tell me that? It's a disaster.
Does anyone have the list of where it is? We have a list on our website and accessible, and they're all numerically ranked.
I don't have a computer.
Understood. We'll get that
But
information.
I
We'll
mean,
leave your phone
it's
number.
been years now that road has, since it was paved, I would say 20-something years or better. All it is now is coal patch, and more coal patch. And now we got nothing but stones and pebbles all over the road, and I ain't seen a street sweeper. Do we have one?
Yes.
Yes, we do, but it's being fixed right now.
A big town like this, and we got one sweeper?
Yes, sir. We have.
Well, I don't know. There's something seems to be wrong here. Other towns have sweepers out in their streets every day.
But they're expensive.
And why don't we have one out there every day? The streets are atrocious with garbage.
Sir.
I don't have an answer for that?
I will get the street sweeper operation, as soon as we can get it operational, it'll be out on the road.
All right, I just hope I made a point here. I'd like to see progress. The same thing with the Main Street bypass. All you people talk about the Army Corps of Engineers. Are they dictating to us, or are we supposed to be dictating to them?
Dictating to us.
Unfortunately, they dictate
To us. I wish we could push them further. We
Project was
tried
held up by them, so
Yeah.
we tried moving forward with it, and it's being held up with permits.
Constantly. It took us we had to ask Frank Pallone when it came to the second round application process. He literally said it was like a Herculean task even for him to finally get those permits, right, Jay? That was the last time around, about a year and a half ago now. And now we're once again held up. And I believe we have two other projects, at least one other. Isn't the dredging in the hands of the Army Corps of Engineers as well in reference? That's being looked at as well. Trust us, we push nonstop, but they do dictate to us. One thing, you bring up a good point though about the street sweeper. And we actually had two street sweepers, correct, Mayor? I think we had two at one point. And the one was completely not operational, and now it brought us down to one. We have over 600 roads in town. And we had asked Bernie last year to do a breakdown of how many hours it takes and how many men it takes us in order to operate that, because it's not like it moves pretty quickly, and how many months it takes us to actually complete a full cycle of 600 roads. And it is not, it's not a pretty sight. I mean, the amount of time it would take us and how slow they go and having to change that. Maybe, Dan, can you look into, and I don't know if this is true, I think other towns do this, where there's actually services now that you can rent, street sweeper services to come in?
I'm pretty
and see-
sure there's anything you want out there can be rented.
I don't know what the cost is. Can we look into that?
Years ago, we had it, and we found out that it wasn't cost-effective to do
wasn't?
it that way. No, and they didn't do as good a job as our own men. They used to race around the streets without any
sure.
water in it. See, that's another thing that people don't understand. The streets can only be swept in weather that we're sure is not going to go below freezing.
Right.
Because if you do not have water in those trucks, all you're doing is throwing a lot of dust up into the air. You need water in there so that they can wet it and pick it up. We cannot do that when there's a possibility of freezing.
Well, I don't know about that, but a little town like South Danbury has one out there just about every day. So you ain't giving me a snow job with that.
Not in the winter. They can't do it in the winter unless they're doing
They
it
don't need
without
water, they could sweep it dry. They're still picking up garbage.
I'm gonna still want Dan to look into it. We did it before. It might be worth it. Who knows? Maybe there's more companies in the field that brought the cost down. It's worth maybe looking at just to see if there's a rentable service in there.
Yeah, but I
Just for
think,
sake.
as big as this town is, there should be one or two out there every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move the public portion be closed.
I'll second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? At this point, I'm going to ask the chief to come up just to give a brief presentation on the document he emailed out to us the other day. Yeah, it was regarding the table of organization.
It's on the agenda.
Okay, then we'll wait for the next one, chief.
Sorry, Chief.
Okay, if there's no other,
I move, motion to adjourn.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, just take a few seconds just to get the agendas out.
What is this?
I'm going to call this meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Terry, statement of publication.
Take notice that this agenda session meeting of the mayor and council being held on this 22nd day of April 2019 has been advertised and posted in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan,
Here.
Delina, Enriquez,
Here.
Kilpatrick,
Here.
McGill, Novak.
Here.
Okay, ordinance 45219, no questions. We'll go on to the next item. Communications and committee reports. Councilman McGill.
Thank you, Council President. Will the following minutes and reports be received and filed? Number one, the municipal clerk's monthly report for the month of March 2019. Number two, the CFO's investment activity report for the months of February and March 2019.
Second.
B, applications received for bingo and raffle license from the following organizations. If you don't mind, I'll just read the organizations. St. Stan's, Save the Little League, PTO South Amboy, and the Jewish Federation of Greater Middlesex and Monmouth Counties. C, application for a social affair from the,
Any objection on that? Okay, next item.
Application for social affair received from Sayville PBA Local 98 to serve beer at their annual picnic on August 25th, 2019, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. I highly recommend this. I go to it every year. And yes, I do drink beer. 2, St. Stan's. D, authorization for the tax collector to refund 2017 taxes in the amount of $7,731.80, 2018 taxes in the amount of $7,921.01, and 2019 taxes in the amount of $1,980, and cancel all subsequently billed taxes covering 890 Upper Main Street, Block 393, Lot 4, due to the approval of 100% disabled veteran tax exemption effective January 1, 2017.
Any objection to either of them? Next item.
I have E is a discussion on price to purchase benches at Kennedy Park. This I have a special interest in because they do it in Middlesex County and other counties and towns in the state. We have a lot of veterans in this town. We have a lot of families that are very close. This is a close-knit town. This is something where we can memorialize not only our veterans, but our citizens at the same time, and our families, to let them know that we haven't forgotten you. It's something that would be, if you go down to the waterfront park, Kennedy Park, and, I'm sorry, not Kennedy, the Sayreville Waterfront Park, you will see those benches. And they're pretty impressive, from guys like Allie Clark and others that, they won't be forgotten. They'll be seen every time you take your walk, you do your jog, you're walking your dog, whatever. This is something I really think is a good idea to give it more character and profile to the borough of South of Sayreville. I'm really for this. We don't have a cost yet, but I think you'll be impressed with it.
Well, Councilman Novak, you want to talk
Well,
about it?
we discussed it at the
we-
finance meeting the other day.
We figured out the cost of everything. It would include the cost of the bench,
717.
the labor, the plaque, and we figured it's going to be approximately 900 and the cost, and also of our people putting the benches in the park. Installation of approximately $915. So if whatever the council, that's going to be the cost to the borough. If we want to recoup all of it or some of it, it's up to the council people what they'd like to do.
I really, I don't want this to be a for-profit. I want this to be something where this is something that people of the borough of Sayreville can be proud of. A lot of great people have come from this borough. Like Arthur, I'm a bit of a historian. A lot of important things happened in Raritan, most of which you guys don't even know about, that would really, really impress you. And as they say, I'm a carpetbagger, and I know about it. But this is something that would really enhance the history of Sayreville, and I'd like people to get behind it, Public Works or whoever else. I don't have the finite answers. I never do, but I know what's good, and this is good for you. Thank you.
Dave, as the head of finance, I think the council is willing to go along with whatever figure. I mean, I know we discussed a few figures, but whatever recommendation you would make, I'm sure the council would go along with it. Like you said, we don't want to make a profit on this.
No, definitely not, okay? This is, round number 500.
Is that agreeable with everybody? $500?
Yes.
And
Yes.
for that, there will be a plaque on the back of the chair saying it was, whatever reason, what you'd like on there, whether it's in memory of somebody or it's a family you'd like to remember.
By the way, this is on the back of the bench.
Won't sit on.
Let's not be silly and think that people are going to be sitting on a plaque. This is on the back, so that everyone sees it. It's it gives it a high profile, and it's something for everyone in Sayreville to be proud of.
$500 to get
We have a lot of good people in this town that should be remembered. Ever notice they always talk while I'm talking?
Sorry, Terry wanted.
Can I ask, just for clarification on that, when you say the back of the bench, my daughters, we love to go and walk in the parks. We were just recently at Spring Lake, and my daughter really finds these plaques and these memorials to kind of be her chance at a history lesson. So she races up ahead of us and she tries to read like, oh my gosh, Mom, this was it. If you don't, my daughter is such a historian, and she is completely obsessed with anything relating to Civil War, World War, anything. So she races from bench to bench to try and see who the bench was dedicated to. And she's always excited when she finds a veteran. But even more so, she gets excited when she sees a name on there and she goes, I wonder what they've done, because it might just be like a personal reference or a personal tribute to the family. When you said that's the back of the bench, do you mean the backside when you sit, your back is to it? That's how most of them are in Spring Lake. Are you talking about, like, when you're walking around Kennedy Park, if you have it on the back of the benches where you sit, they're facing the water. But if you had, or do you mean the back of the bench, so if you're walking around the path, that you would be able to read them? That's what I wanted to
You know,
know.
we actually did kind of have a discussion.
I know it seems,
I thought it would be on the back, so as you're walking along, you could read it. Some other people felt it should be on the back, like facing.
yeah. I mean, the ones that I've seen have always been on the ones where you're sitting and
Yeah.
the plaque is behind you.
What do you think?
Kennedy, well, I think that it might be specific to the location. So Kennedy Park, how some of the benches are actually, you have the path and then the bench is closer to the water. You're never going to see that placard unless you're actually walking to sit on the bench. So it would be nice, I think, if we're really trying to create that sense of community and to honor the people that have just been a part of our town, for that particular site, I would say put it on the back of the bench so that even if you're not sitting, you can still read it.
Yep.
If it's in another location where the paths are in front and you can turn and look at the benches without sitting down, you still get that moment of, nostalgia and just memory. So I think maybe we would just ask the Public Works Department when they're installing to look at that specifically. It probably doesn't matter where you put it when you install it, either the front or the back. Be mindful of that.
Won't make any difference.
That's my 2 cents, or 500,
with you.
whatever you want to call it.
Just like out here, if we ever get around to doing those, I think on the front, as you're walking down the path, you can see
You
them
can see
on
'em.
both sides.
Yeah. So that would be my comments to that. Other than that, it's a wonderful thing.
Okay, do we need a motion for this?
Could I speak just one more time? Okay.
Please do.
Thanks very much. The public comes up here with a lot of complex questions. And they are complex, at least to me. And we try our best. I just want to put a sign on a bench. Okay? I mean, does everybody get this? This is something good for all of us. And it's going to be on the back of the bench, which is your back. You see, you sit down, and that's it. That's it. Progress.
All right, do we need any action on that? Okay. All right, next item. Planning and zoning as well as Public Works, Councilwoman Novak.
Yes, I'd like the minutes as listed on the agenda under A, 1, 2, 3, and 4 be received and filed.
Second?
Okay, notice to adjacent property owners under B, 1 and 2 be to received and filed.
Okay, next item.
Public Works, under A, minutes and departmental reports, 1, 2, and 3, as printed, be received and filed. Also, under B, asking for approval for the use of the portable stage, 1 and 2, the Saraville PBA, and the City of South Amboy.
Any objections to that? And that doesn't interfere with anything we're having?
Okay. Give
Next
me,
item.
that's it under the reports. I just have, Lee sent me something. We have Earth Day, which is happening on, gosh. You have that under yours, recreation, when Earth Day is?
It was on.
No, ours. Yeah. Okay, this coming Saturday? Okay. They, as well as the trees being given out by Shade Tree, Elise is having a cleanup of Kennedy Park. And if you'd like to come out and help out, there will be gloves and bags. Also, she's worked the 9 o'clock in the morning. She works with a group called PAL, which is an acronym. I can bring this up. I am not. Okay, it's the program, Pathways for Adult Living. And she works with them, and they are going to be, what they do is they're learning about recycling, what is recyclable, what isn't recycling, and they actually go out and on Recycling Day, and they try to help out by leaving notes to people that are not recycling properly, and you'd be surprised how many people, you know, are not putting the proper things in there. They don't understand. This is a really, really great program. It's teaching these people that have cognitive disabilities, giving them information, letting them feel like they have a sense of accomplishment by going out there and educating the townsfolks. And I just wanted to read this from Elise. It'll only take me a second. I am proud to nominate the PAL programs, Pathway to Adult Living, along with their advisors from the Borough of Saraville, for the Public Lands Cleanup Award. I had the privilege to start working with them last year, and they first reached out to become involved, and then they have since become an intricate part of the volunteers that help clean up the litter in our municipality. The PAL program is comprised of students from the ages of 18 to 21 years old with a wide range of disabilities. The group is managed by the Educational Service Commission of New Jersey, and they are supervised by certified structural learning experienced staff. In short, this is a life skills day program where the PAL students can participate in activities focusing on reinforcing independent living and social skills. I am pleasantly surprised when the PAL program first contacted the Department of Public Works asking to participate in our community cleanups. They were excited to be part of the program, and I was happy to have them involved. The PAL students underwent primary training regarding their new roles as community cleaners, which was reinforced by their learning staff. Many of the students in their first time learning about recycling litter and the importance of keeping the municipality clean. For example, we taught them the difference between the types of litters we would be picking up, what was recycled, and how to pick it up appropriately. The students took their job as community cleaners very seriously. Starting with Earth Day, if you were to drive around Saraville, you would see PAL students either in our local parks, walking down the streets, or in our parking lots with their orange and blue bags and their pickers. They spend hours each week keeping our community clean. One of the most rewarding parts of my job, that's Elise, as recycling coordinator, is being involved with the training of these individuals and seeing what they have learned and help reinforce their entire way of thinking. For example, after a community cleanup outing, the PAL students comment to their advisors about the different litters they found along the way. They were particularly concerned when they found broken glass because it could hurt young children, and they were sad when they saw too much litter on the ground. From the beginning, it was obvious that they would take incredible pride in their work. They might have learned a lot about this program, but they taught me more in a few lessons along the way. I am so glad that they have been part of our clean communities in the Borough of Saraville, and I am honored to nominate them for the award. Not only is it's going to be a great award for them, and it's going to be a statewide award, and Elise wanted everybody to know that. Because, you know, a lot of times you read on Facebook where somebody will complain about stuff laying around, and why don't we do this and why don't we do that? And it's important for the residents of the town to know that we're constantly involving local organizations, and this is just another local organization that does help us with this. I was also speaking to Elise today about the possibility, since we went single stream recycling, if we could work with the county and maybe getting big blue cans like our green ones, because everything goes into one can now. And currently, with the open containers that we have, on windy days, we all know where a lot of the recycling winds up. It'd probably be an uphill battle. Elise bought one of the garbage cans, a 32-gallon one, the smaller version of ours, but still big. And she's been trying to convince the county to perhaps go with a one-armed bandit for the recycling also. I think that is a worthwhile accomplishment. And I have one question. Back in, let me see, what's the date on this? February, the state raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. How is that going to affect us with our summer help? Do we know? Do we have to pay them the $15 an hour?
We are budgeted for $10 per hour.
Okay, so will we have to pay the 15 as well?
No, we will not.
Okay, and that doesn't apply?
And it's a phase-in also, correct, but we're,
Excuse me? Phased in? Okay. Thank you very much. Other than that, progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Recreation, Councilman Enriquez?
Thank you, Council President. All right, minutes and departmental reports. Move the following minutes reports be received and filed. 1, Recreation Director's report for the month of March 2019. 2, Recreation Advisory Board minutes of April 4, 2019.
Second.
Application for a special event received from the following: St. Stan's Roman Catholic Church to conduct their annual carnival from June 19th through 22nd, 2019 on the parish grounds, and Sammy's Hope Animal Welfare and Adoption Center to conduct a 5K fundraiser on October 26, 2019 at the Sayreville Sports Complex to the Julian Kaepernick Nature Preserve.
Any objections? Next item.
All right, request received from Sayreville PBA to waive or reduce the fees associated with the use of Burke's Park.
Which one?
And
Which one do you want waived
Uh,
or reduced?
we're looking to waive.
And
Waive. Yes.
any objections?
No.
Next item.
All right, I have a recreation update from Jerry Ust. Couple of things here. Registration for Spring Mommy and Me at the Rec Center and Little Kids Playtime at Kennedy Park is ongoing. Please register at SayrevilleRec.com. We also have bus trips to Yankee Stadium and Citi Field. They are also on sale at SayrevilleRec.com. We have movies in the park scheduled for June 15th, July 13th, and August 24th. We also have the Fishing Derby at Kennedy Park. It's scheduled for Saturday, May 18th, rain or shine. Registration is free and begins at 8:30 with fishing from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Also like to give a special thanks to the Recreation Advisory Board for helping run the Easter egg hunt this year. The event was attended by over 500 children. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilman. Water and Sewer, Councilwoman Kilpatrick?
Thank you, Council President Buchanan. I move the following minutes and reports be received and filed. The Court Administrator's Report for the month of March 2019. Oh, I'm sorry, Danny, I'm reading yours, my apologies. Knew that didn't sound right coming out of Water and Sewer. Move the following minutes and reports be received and filed. The Water and Sewer Director's Report for the month of March 2019.
Second.
And a notice of application filed with the New Jersey DEP that the borough is seeking approval to modify the proposed water quality devices to be used to address the stormwater runoff from the proposed Main Street bypass roadway. Receive and file.
Anything else?
That will be all, Mayor. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, may I? I forgot one thing. Sure. The Public Safety Committee met with PSC&G the other day, and we told them that we would bring something back. Excuse me?
Public Works?
Public Works, yeah.
I'm looking
All
at
right.
public safety.
I did that.
Public Works.
Everyone wants public safety, chief.
Yep. Well, it's kind of important to everybody, I guess. They would like to, there's about 12 streets that they would like permission to only pave half of the streets. And we thought, we all can count to 4, and the committee, and matter of fact, there was only 2 from the committee that were there. My recommendation, I believe it is Ms. Kilpatrick's too, that the council not permit them to pave half of the street. The residents of the town would just not understand why, if you lived on one side of the street, you were going to be paved, and then there would be a seam, and the other side of the street would all be full of potholes. So but I would like, the council to at least take a voice vote on whether or not they would like to let public service pave half of the streets. Well, okay, for the people that don't understand, every time public service digs up the street, they have a responsibility, right, for the gas lines. They're supposed to pave the street curb to curb. And for years, not only were they not doing that, they were not getting their proper permits, so we didn't even know they were doing that. And it became increasingly obvious that there was a problem, and it's taken us probably 6 to 8 weeks with the manpower that we have to go out and survey every single street. And they're not happy with the number of streets that we found. And they paved many, and they just don't want to pave anymore. So they're asking for a waiver to pave half of the street, and I personally think that is silly. There's no way we can explain. We said we have to answer to the taxpayers. They said, well, they have to answer to their customers, and I said, but what you're paying will be spread across all of your customers. We're concerned about the taxpayers of this town. You did not do what you were supposed to do, and heck, you could have been fined for every street you dug up without a permit, and we're waiving those penalties. So my opinion is that we don't, but I'd like a voice vote so we can get back to public service with our answer.
And just, if I can also just add to what Councilwoman Novak is saying, just to be clear, what they're asking for is the roads currently that they want a waiver for are roads that they have previously done work on. These aren't new roads, this isn't portions of a project that are set to be done. The roads that they want us to waive are roads that they have torn up over the course of 10 years or so. And we just found them, and the reason why we found them is, like Mary said, in a lot of these situations, they were going in, they were opening up the roads without doing proper, getting proper permits. So basically, I think I equated it to like, a thief coming in and robbing in the middle of the night, and then we're forced to try and run around and track down the thief and find out what house they hit next. We sent our road department out there to basically survey all 600 roads to see if we can find any additional that may have been done without our knowledge. Last year, I sat down with PSE&G in reference to, how many roads was it total, Dan? 16 or 18 roads that we found they had done this to. It took a lot of fighting back and forth, but we ended up saying, and being resilient up here, saying it's not appropriate for you to do this. And you've noticed that in the past couple of weeks, you've had a lot of roads now being paved curb to curb. You get notices saying PSE&G is doing it. PSE&G is doing it because we held them accountable. We found these additional roads that were done without our knowledge. They want us to just allow them to pave to midline. Well, if we held you accountable this past year for 16 roads that you did this way, what makes you think we are not going to hold you accountable for these other roads that you did? Moving forward, you want to work with us and sit down with our engineer and sit down with our director and whoever else is on the Public Works Committee. By all means, we want to provide the best service for our residents that are PSE&G customers and have you restore those gas lines. You are not going to turn around and cost our residents even more money, more aggravation, and more quality of life of having to live with these roads that you chewed up and then have left in this disrepair. So I agree with Mary. We did tell them that we would bring this to the council. I know how I felt. It was the same as Mary, but we need to get the additional feedback from the council to see how you feel about it.
I had a couple questions, and I don't know who up here can answer them. First, are they still not getting permits to open these roads?
I think
Does
Terry
anyone
might be
knows?
best to answer that now, right? Because Terry, I think you've been very instrumental in how that process goes through and communicating with our DPW department as well. Do you want
They fill out.
there and
They
then
fill
come
out
to here?
the permits over there. They come over here to pay, because we don't take money in public works.
They come to the clerk's office to pay the fee and for the permits to be issued, and we keep track of the permits that are issued. However, with us not being out there on the roadways, we don't know what roads have been opened up and have permits for and don't have permits for, unless somebody from DPW or the road supervisor gives us, our office a call, and then we can always confirm that with them. So I can't clearly answer that question.
That's one of the questions I asked was this process, because I said, how are they getting away with doing this? And that's when Mary walked me through with Bernie, and we had our road supervisor there. We officially surveyed now all of the 600 roads that we currently have. This last list that now has come before PSE&G, we put on record stating that this is it as far as past work that you have done over the years that you didn't permit or didn't get documentation for properly. So we were very confident, and we had asked Bernie and our road supervisor if they were comfortable putting that in writing, moving forward, that there are no additional roads that are outstanding. So if that's the answer to your question, Dan, that's where we went with it.
Okay, now, who's oversight? So we don't have another issue like Mr. Zinn out there. Who's checking the roads once they're done and making sure they're up to our standards?
That's our road supervisor. If the permits are issued by anybody, whether it's digging up by somebody because of a water leak or whoever, our road supervisor goes out to check when it's done, that it's done properly. Because if you got a permit, you also pay fees up front, and you get money. Money is held in abeyance until all the work is done. But with when they weren't getting the permits, there was nobody inspecting anything. So not only were they doing it without permits, a lot of times they weren't even filling them in properly. So, you know.
Or putting up the money that we would be holding in abeyance.
There was nothing being held in abeyance if this collapsed or something like that, because we didn't know it was being done. You know, right now, I'm going to tell you the truth. Anytime I see somebody digging a hole, I call. Is there a permit issued for this? Who is this and what are they doing? Because I'm concerned. You always assume that everything is being done right, and you know what assuming does for you and me.
So I think, Dan, to answer your question, the road supervisor now, every time the permit is open, and obviously the money is being kept in abeyance until the road supervisor.
Public service is a utility, so therefore they're not required to pay X amount of money per square foot or that is of the roadway that's open for permit fees and for escrow fees to be held in abeyance until the road is put back.
I thought then I think we were misled.
It was everybody, but
Not public service.
not public service.
Yep, the ordinance is written differently for a utility.
Okay.
So we don't hold anything then?
We have a bond, it can be held against the bond, but that's, as far as I've been sitting up here, that has never been done.
I mean, we have a unique
That I'm aware of.
situation
You
here.
could, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Yes,
We have a
absolutely.
unique situation here
so
where,
there is a bond, though.
Yes.
Okay.
There
that's
is a
what I thought.
bond.
There is a bond.
okay, so, and they're well aware of the level of dissatisfaction that this council has with them.
Require, yes.
And that we've had enough, and we've had it up to here. As a matter of fact, I invited them at that meeting to come here, have a public meeting, and let all the residents have at it, if you will, because our roads is our biggest complaint from our residents. And to turn around, listen, we have to do our due diligence here when it comes to budgeting things for our road department to fix and to take care of. But to have a third party of any type come in and rip up our roads and then to make it look like we're the ones doing this and not doing right by our residents is not something I'm going to wear. They are going to be held accountable for what they have done. And we're very, very stern on that. And the meetings get loud and they sometimes end up having to be closed down because we're just not going to have it anymore. If there is a way we can tighten it up, I know that our director and our road supervisor are up to that task because they no longer want to have to take the complaints for things that they didn't do. So basically what we're looking at is our road supervisor, when the permits get issued, the roads get open, he has to go out, inspect it, give the okay. And I know, Jay, in the past, we brought you into these meetings as well, so you know, we mean business. We're not going to allow this to fall through the cracks anymore.
Okay, Terry, do we need formal action or straw poll for this?
Roll call to go for the curb-to-curb paving on the outstanding roads that were previously ripped up.
Yeah, it's
We need a
I guess it
motion
would be a
and,
straw
you
poll.
want a straw
That's-
poll?
Would you need a motion?
Just
A straw poll vote,
Yeah.
just a decision of the council
All those in favor?
for curb to curb.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That was easy enough.
Done.
You need that button there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, my report. I move the following minutes be received and filed. The Court Administrator's Report for the month of March 2019, Board of Health and Registrar's Report for the month of March 2019, Police Chief's Report for the month of March 2019, and the Board of Health minutes from the meeting of March 7, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Letter B, request to travel from Engine Company for June 22nd, which is Madawan's 150th anniversary, and charity golf tournament for Colts Neck, in Colts Neck on April 26th. I'd like to have that approved. Any objections? Thank you. Letter C, request to hang banners received from St. Stan's on Washington and Bissett and Cheesequake Road and Hercules entrance from the 1st of June until the end of the event. I'd like to have that approved. Any objections? Thank you. And letter D, application for firefighter membership of Kevin Riley was approved by Engine Company. I'd like to have that approved. Any objections? No. Okay. Lastly, the last council meeting we had, I brought up free parking for first-time pass holders for the park and ride. And that somehow ended up getting morphed into buy one, get one. And the Commuter Advisory Board was voiced their concern with that. It's not helping them. What their goal is to try to get more riders into the lot, try to get more riders into on the buses, and they feel by doing a buy one get one, they're not truly getting the membership that they want to get there, and they're looking for, no, the original one that we brought up was that the recommendation was free parking for the month of May. And somehow when we were talking, it ended up getting morphed into the other part. And they did voice their concern. No, I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm just saying that it ended up getting morphed. Where is his? He's looking for 10 or 20 for right now. He's looking for 10 or 20 passes for individuals, just to try to encourage people to come into our park and ride and encourage them to start taking the buses in there.
So what is it?
He's looking to get 10 or 20 free passes, 10 to 20 free passes for the month of May, in order for new riders, someone who's new monthly membership, can go use the park and ride, so that we can encourage ridership.
Negate the buy one, get one free, and
Correct.
offer,
Post it
just
on the
offer
web.
free passes for new riders at our park and ride for the month of May. That's what they want, right there.
That is what they are looking for, yes.
They want Terry to just make up passes and give
What
to
am I
them
gonna-
so they can give them out?
What is
No.
it that you want me to say about the posting that's already out there for the buy one, get one free, buy May, get June
Has
free?
anyone used it yet?
At
No
this
one
point,
has
I
used it
don't,
yet. It's just a matter of changing the wording on it, since no one's used it yet, and it's still the same concept.
so I'm just
where
gonna
they're
take it
For the month of
down.
May, yeah, just
So
amend it.
for the month of
amend
May,
it.
it's 10 to 20 free passes, first come, first served, new residents.
New
pass-
monthly pass
pass
holders.
holders. Pass
Pass holders.
holders.
Pass. Not the path train, the pass.
Gotcha.
Does anyone have any objections to that? Thank you. And that'll be all of my reports. Business Administrator's report?
Thank you, Mayor. Authorization to use a competitive contracting process for the provision of a computer shuttle service.
Next item?
Authorization to issue a non-fair and open contract for network and application maintenance services for TK1 Solutions in an amount not to exceed $49,500.
Next item?
I need to schedule, if it's okay, with the governing body and ethics committee, which is required from our JIF to reduce our insurance premiums. I was thinking before the next council meeting, which is May 13th at 5:45. Would that be okay with everybody?
Anyone have any conflicts? If not, Terry, you don't need to do anything. Dan would do it.
Thank you. Request received for handicap parking sign received from Florence Wingardner. Need to refer to Traffic Bureau. Discussion on report received from the Police Chief and Traffic Study Bureau recommending Pershing Avenue traffic study. Is that something we want to discuss right now?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we had a Pershing Avenue meeting last week, and within that meeting, the recommendation was to change the side of the street where there's no parking. We'd have to amend the ordinance to show I guess that's the southbound side? Southbound side, Chief? Eastbound side. Eastbound side, the east side of the street. So, any objections to that? That was the recommendation, we discussed it with the public. The reason for that was, when you're coming off of Washington Road, it's just natural just to pull over to the right rather than going around, turning around.
So everyone's in agreement with the amendment of that ordinance? I'll go ahead and list it for introduction at the next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
And next item?
Authorization carried from April 8, 2019, the meeting to amend the current police table of organizations. They are the following positions to the Uniform Division: Lieutenant of Community Outreach and Special Projects Service Bureau, and Sergeant of Community Outreach and Special Projects Service Bureau.
Anyone have any questions for the chief?
No questions. I just want to say thank you for the comprehensive report that you sent. It was detailed, informative, and I think gave us the information that we needed to move forward.
So we're going to need an ordinance on that, and we're going to need from a budgetary standpoint, when is this going to go into effect? We were talking about like September 1?
Chief, we were originally talking about the end of over the summer, right? Correct. Yeah,
So can we make it effective?
Well, no, we'd have to have it approved now, effective date of that date.
Okay?
Okay?
August, yeah.
September 1.
September 1.
Effective. September.
Effective August the 1st in the ordinance?
Sure.
Okay.
Next item?
Authorization to appoint Daniel Garbowski, Alfred Gavin III, and David Morales as truck driver in the Department of Public Works effective May 1st, 2019.
Next item?
We had the discussion on the cost of the park benches, so that
Want to go
was,
over that again?
so we are going to offer to the public, Mr. McGill, $500 per bench. Right, bench on the bench, you got that? Okay.
Got it.
Got it. Authorization to award a contract to Starfire Corporation for the 2019 Independence Day fireworks display. Authorization, oh, sorry.
I just have one question. Last year, they had a problem, and a lot of their fireworks we didn't get. Is this the same company we had last year, and are we getting any reduction?
Yeah, Mary, I do. It is the same company. They are taking care of what happened last year. We are getting above and beyond what we are paying for, much more than what we are paying for, to make up for what happened last year.
So this is the year to come here. to-
Yes, so this would be the year to come watch the fireworks. We are getting a good monetary amount of fireworks, more than what we're paying, so they are making good on what happened last year.
Next item?
Authorization to rescind Resolution 2006-116 and adopt a new resolution increasing reimbursement fees for umpires and referees as follows. Senior official rescind $36 to $45. Junior official $16 to $20. Games using single senior officials $54 to $67.50, and removing the single junior official.
Next item?
Authorization to award contracts to the following low bidders for water department chemicals: sodium hypochlorite for Miracle Chemical, 225,000 gallons at $1.428 per gallon, a total of $235,800. Sulfuric acid, Coin Chemical Company, 25 gallons at $3.58 per gallon, $8,953. Sodium bisulfate, Univar, 1,200 gallons at $2.36 per gallon, amount of $2,832. Sodium hydroxide, Coin Chemical Company, 3,700 gallons at $3.4217 per gallon, $12,660.29. And ferric chloride, PVC Technologies, 250,000 gallons at $1.27 per gallon, total of $317,500. Summary of the bids are attached in your package.
Next item?
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
We had an ordinance that we were actually up to public hearing on about fees for the bar licenses. We took it off the agenda. We awaited some reports. We received the reports. Do we have any idea whether we're just going to not bring it up, or we're going to bring that back up and rehash it, or it's kind of like going to a black hole?
I had all the information listed, and the council, the bar owners attended the meeting, and the request for additional information was gathered. So it's up to the council what you want me to do with it. Right.
I was tasked by the mayor to provide information. I was to reach
I-
out, and
I
I did, and
saw
I
that.
forwarded
Saw all
everybody,
that.
so
Yeah,
everybody has
I
all
saw
that
all that.
information.
So what's your pleasure? What's your pleasure?
It's too late for this year,
Okay. We should,
so then whatever,
want to act now on it for next year, or?
That's correct. We can make it effective for next year and the following year, so it'll be on the books and will be taken care of, but that's up to the council. Want to do 1 year at a time, or you want to just roll the fees in $250 as was written the first time that I made the presentation, and then the balance of the $250 the following year?
What's your pleasure, folks?
To my recollection, the increase was $250 for 2019-20 licensing term, and the following year was an additional $250 for 2020 to 2021 licensing term. So that's what was presented to the council for ordinance introduction. So the additional information was gathered, and Denise put the information forward from the chief, and apparently he said that there's really no additional burden on PD Yes, right. So it's up to the council how you want to handle it. 1 year at a time, you just want to do next year because it's too late for this year's term, because the applications for renewal are already out there. We're ready to renew now. So it'll either be for 2020 to 2021 licensing term, and then the additional year thereafter, or one at a time. My suggestion is get it done.
Yeah. What direction?
Get it done with the increase, is what you're saying? With-
2-year term with $250 increase per licensing term.
But that, the question, and then forgive me because I was not present at that meeting, I believe, that was discussed. So it was an increase that was being looked at, correct?
There's an
We're looking
increase
to
that was being
increase-
proposed.
That was being proposed. And just take me back again, the increase is $250 on what we currently have?
That's correct.
And
Which we haven't charged in the last, what was it, 5 years?
Correct.
since 1914.
2014.
Yes.
Whoa.
And I'm agreeing, yes.
And the research that we gathered was that, from the chief's perspective, that there was no additional cost incurred by that
No
department.
burden by PD.
And where did we come up with the $250 increase? I'm just curious, what was the,
It's the percent that we're allowed to increase according to state statute.
okay.
And Terry did quite an extensive report comparing to other towns. And towns that our size, even after those 2 years, will either be right in line or some of them still less. I think
Very little still less. Very few municipalities will be less. Mhm.
I mean,
And they're smaller towns with a lot more bars.
right. So they had.
now that cost could, now we could turn around and end up biting ourselves a little bit too if we come back and find out that that cost goes up. Chief, you haven't seen it go up though, from your perspective either? Reduction at that point, okay, because I'm just trying to gather in my head, do I want, who knows, we may want to raise it more.
You
for
can't.
next year, but we can't.
There's only a
This
percentage
is
you
the
could
max
raise
that we can
per
do.
year till you reach the max, and we'll be at the max in 2 years if that's what you choose to do. No, it's not my recommendation. My recommendation is if you're going to do it, do it. But if you want to do one at a time to get the impact, the feel back from the bars again,
Yeah, maybe do that, I mean, I don't,
So you're saying this year's too late, it's set in stone?
it's way too late for an increase for 2019,
So we're talking
2020.
about next year.
Or
That would be for,
2021.
correct.
and typically we've only done it for 1 year.
No, we haven't done it
We've
in a
done-
while. in a couple
No, I'm saying to,
Even though we were allowed to, we didn't do it.
we haven't raised in 5 years. I mean, here's what it, I'm processing it now in my head, give me, I mean,
It's not on the agenda. They're placing it on the
yeah,
agenda.
so, I mean, place it on the agenda then, I mean, and we can have the discussion further, give me, yeah, that sounds good. Place it on the agenda and we
Put
can
it on the
discuss
agenda once again. Mhm.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Sorry, because
Put the ordinance on for first reading, or you want to discuss it again? Again? Well, that's not really what I heard.
Are we saying putting it on for first reading?
Or discussion. I'm hearing discussion, I'm hearing ordinance.
we already had discussion on it.
Thank you. Mhm.
Kind of discussing it now with
Right.
this agenda.
The amount, and if it's 1 year or
Well,
for,
you know what, I mean, we can put it on for discussion again, because it's not gonna make a difference, right? I would say put it on for discussion again and then move it forward, why? There we go. Because then I can actually be a part of the discussion like everybody else did, I was not here for that one. But I'm the only person.
once again, we'll do that, absolutely. Mhm. You're welcome.
I just wanted to bring it up. 'cause
Yeah.
it just seemed to fall off the face of the earth.
No, I saw the emails back and forth, I'm glad you brought it up again.
Okay, CFO's report. Denise?
Authorization to refund Dish Wireless application fee for $1,250, as well as their escrow deposit of $2,500.
Did we expend any money?
No,
Okay,
and they withdrew their application.
okay. I just was wondering
That's
if we
fine.
did any
No, I made
work
sure I-
before the-
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Borough Engineers report, Jay? Thank you. Borough's Attorney's Report.
Yes, authorization to accept deed of dedication for the Peter Pank property on Route 9 in accordance with the Planning Board resolution.
Any objections? Anything else?
No. No, not yet. They're still working with Conrail. Allegedly, that is forthcoming.
Look how long it takes to get that bridge over. They're second only to the Corps of Engineers.
Okay, do you have anything for executive session?
No.
Okay, at this time, I'll open up the public portion for comments and questions on any items. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You gotta turn it on, it's not on.
There's another one right there.
What?
Here you go.
And I think, since the benches are usually tipped back, it makes more sense to put them in the front where you could see them, because if they're tipped back when you're walking by, you're gonna have to do this to see it, so sit on them, like you said. The other thing is, who controls the cable company? I mean, we're locked into one cable company. When cable first came to Sayreville, it was Cross Country Cable, and I sold it. It was $7.50. And if you wanted something extra, it was an additional $10. Now people are paying $140 for the same service. And there's no competition. You can go with Dish, you can go with a satellite that you get knocked out. You got DirecTV, but there's no other cable company here. And since they got us by the goons, they could just raise the prices as much as they want. So who controls, who put a cap on that? Who could, say, hey, guys, enough is enough? You think it's ridiculous?
Yeah, it's BPU. BPU controls that, sir. So there are a number of restrictions and obligations that the cable companies are obligated to follow under BPU.
That's it. I mean, we have no sake to bring in another company. I mean, I know there's only enough cables you can put on.
No, BPU controls that, and so any and all appeals we have the right to appeal for BPU, Public Board of Utilities, and they can decide.
Now, Rick, I can tell you from experience, I live, where I live in Morgan.
Yep.
We actually have the option over there, Verizon Fios. I took it for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then I got rid of it. It's the same with whatever company you get.
Yeah.
You have the same problems, same issues.
They're coming
But
low.
BPU, we've had complaints with BPU already. Some of them have gotten addressed. They have to go when they want a rate hike too. They have to go before the BPU. So,
Yeah.
our hands are tied. The only way to get it is if somebody came in and they're not going to put the investment into the infrastructure that they need.
Can't go back to antennas, huh?
We had a problem with them not, if you were leaving in the middle of a month or something, you're supposed to program your bill by BPU statutes. And we had a fight to get them to,
Yeah.
refund money to our residents, even though they were in violation of the statute, Mike.
Yeah,
had a
Mr.
fight, went a couple rounds
Gavin.
in a ring with you.
Mr. Gavin, yeah.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
My back.
No, you can hold on to it. You guys,
Take home.
come on, Jim.
Don't take it home.
Thank you, Jim Robinson, West Corral Square. Councilman Enrique, can you, with respect to Starfire, can you quantify above and beyond?
I don't have the exact numbers with me. I could get it from Jerry Ust. He actually did have the exact numbers of what was being paid to and what we would be getting in contrast, so.
Well, how about with respect to this one, the authorization to award a contract? What's the amount of this contract?
Like I said, I don't have those numbers in front of me. I could easily get it for you. But Denise might have it, yes.
We actually have it. It's in the packet.
You don't?
It's in the packet, Jim. Hold on one second.
And the amount that I understand that they were owed us was the amount of $3,000, and I do understand that they are going to be doing over and above that $3,000 figure. Not quite so sure how it's written into the contract.
17,000,
17,000 is the contract.
correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
and what is the over and above that they're doing for us?
They're providing additional shells. I don't recall what the numbers that they generally do and everything. I remember this year it was debacle. I remember speaking with Jerry that they were going to
What was the
provide-
amount usually?
They shelled it in fire. I forgot if it was 20, I don't know how many it was.
Yeah.
But they're going to provide that plus another additional amount. I don't have the exact amount, so they're going to provide with
Oh,
So it's more fireworks for a lot lower price than what we,
okay, well, the more is just what we're owed, right?
yes, plus, on top, plus, plus.
I don't think they want to lose us as a
Okay.
client.
So what we would pay for 17,000,
So they're not saving us any money, they're giving us some more to.
Giving us more.
What's that?
Gotta throw that in, bang for the, you know, I don't have a vote, I just got words.
Use that.
That's all I got, I'm sorry.
Okay, the way you said it, I thought it was some.
Well, let's say you get 10,000 shells for $500, it's more like, you know, for that, say, $500, you're gonna get like 12,000 shells, something like that comparison.
Now, are those real numbers you're using, or is that?
No,
just
I
an
said like,
illustration?
I said like.
Okay. All right, I thought you might know, thank you.
thank you. Anyone else from the public? If not, I'll entertain a motion. All in favor?
Aye. Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Dave.
Good night, Dan. Good job.
Here's my email. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send that to a friend of mine. I want you to call. He's a great guy, he's a soccer guy. I play hoops with him. All right. Thank you. Dave. Good night, sir. Good night, Jess. Great job, Jess. Be driving down to North Carolina tomorrow, so if you need me. There's one of the Outer Banks. You know. Oh, yeah. Vic, good luck tomorrow. Thank you. If you need me, call me. I'll be driving down the Outer Banks.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what? It's Mom's place for Easter, so we go.
We'll miss you though, Mike. I will.
I'll miss you
Thank
too.
you so much.
I know. The Outer Banks. Just driving down. No, we're driving tomorrow. I'm leaving at 5 a.m. I got the kids have already packing the car. Listen, all I want,
My son's down in South Carolina.
Yeah, you know, it's just, we get down there, we ride bikes, we stop, we go.